Hello, King of Snark Style here, representing Tactical Bacon Productions, although my friends just call me Tack. Now, I have a confession to make, and not the confession you're all thinking of. I am chronically late to the party. The first party I was ever invited to, I had to work beforehand, so I didn't show up until around 11:30. By that point, some girl was already passed out in the bathroom covered in puke. So it's in the spirit of being late that I admit that I've only just played Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. I wasn't really interested because I'll admit to not being much of a Crash fan these days, but a friend gave it to me for Christmas, so I figured why the hell not. To be honest, it's about as accurate a remake as you could hope for, and as far as what you want out of a remake, it's about as good as you could hope for, except for the at times hideous art style. I don't know whose idea it was to give Crash cartoony proportions with realistic fur, but whoever it was, you deserve a smack. I'm just kidding, by the way, I don't encourage violence or harassment in any way. They also went buck nutty with the extra content, making what is essentially a remake of CTR and CNK just without the latter's campaign or zero gravity gimmick. And the unlockables? Hot damn, they really scraped the bottom of the barrel to give you extra content in this game. F***ing Yaya Panda? That's about as deep a cut as you could possibly get. And Hasty is a completely original character who was apparently based off a pitched mascot concept for a search engine that was accidentally lumped in with Bob Raffy's concept art portfolio for the original CTR. As far as weird stories behind character inclusion, that's on the same level as Noob Saibot from Mortal Kombat. So all in all, it's a pretty damn good remake, but there's one piece of extraneous crap that's been hanging off this game for a very long time and in many ways overshadows the game itself. So let's talk about the microtransactions. When the microtransactions were initially patched in post-launch, all hell broke loose. As tends to be the case on the internet, it lost all nuance and became a debate less on the game itself and more a war of two sides. From what I understand, even the Sonic fans got involved, although that was solely because Nitro Fueled came out around the same time as Team Sonic Racing, and Sonic fans tended to use the microtransactions in Nitro Fueled and lack thereof in TSR to justify the latter being so But speaking as somebody who never thought the microtransactions should have been there in the first place, all I was hearing, all I was seeing was, it's not intrusive, it's not intrusive, it's not intrusive, followed by a knee-jerk insult. Now, I think that Nitro Fueled is a great game on its own merits, but now that I've played the game, saying the microtransactions aren't intrusive, well, that's a lie. So here's how it works. With every race you play, you get a number of Wumpa coins at the end. With those Wumpa coins, you can go into the shop menu, aka the pit stop, and buy any number of different things. It's a tried and tested system of unlockables in video games, but where the intrusion comes in is in the presentation of the shop. Let's just say you want to unlock a specific character, like Spyro. Well, you can't just buy that character or any other character you might want. Each of these unlockables only have one available at a time. You can also refresh the shop menu twice every X amount of hours. So here's the thing. You can't just buy anything you want, and you can't shuffle the deck as many times as you want. So the only way to reliably get what you want is to just keep buying the current items until you eventually get it through brute force, because buying is the only thing in the shop menu that isn't limited by design. Some of these things are ridiculously expensive too. Over 2,000 coins for a single character skin, and not even my choice of character skin? And how many Wumpa coins do you get per race? Not nearly enough. If you complete daily challenges and collect the occasional golden Wumpa fruit, you can get probably 300 coins per race. Just for the race itself though, it varies depending on how long the race is, but it's usually less than 100. On average, I found myself earning less than 40 or 50 Wumpa coins per race at times. However, there are multipliers, most notably the weekend multiplier, which doubles your Wumpa coins on the weekends. Fairly self-explanatory, honestly. But also, I've even heard, though take this with a grain of salt because I can't prove it, so it might not necessarily be true, that they retroactively went back and decreased the amount of Wumpa coins you get per race in later patches. Which, once again, I wouldn't put past Activision because all it does is increase the tantalization of buying your way through the game with real money, and you can't go back to earlier builds of the game. I tried to go back to the 1.0 version of the game, and aside from causing my game to crash constantly, even when I switched to a different account and got that working, there were no Wumpa coins yet that early into the build. It was something that they added later. So if this rumor is true, they were smart for adding the coins after 1.0, because there's no way to play this game as anything other than the current build and the 1.0 build. Either way, if you've gotten to the point where the only way to get what you want is to buy your way through the shop, then it's going to quickly feel like a grind. This is all a psychological ploy and everything plays a part. The insane amount of unlockables means that 9 times out of 10 you're not going to have something that appeals to you. The 1 item per category limit and the limited refreshes incentivizes you to buy your way through the unlockables rather than waiting for them to refresh, and the insultingly low amount of Wumpa coins you get per race is meant to make you frustrated enough to want to pay your way through with real money instead. There's literally no other reason that they would hamstring you like this if it wasn't to try and incentivize purchasing more Wumpa coins. Genuinely, what other reason would there be? If there is one, I'd like to hear it. If you have any intention whatsoever to unlock the content in this game, then the shop system is a psychological battle where the entire game tries to steer you towards paying extra. I wouldn't be surprised if the RNG is specifically designed to favor less desirable unlockables as well. You know what I mean? Rigging the RNG so you're more likely to get characters like Zem, Norm, or one of the baby characters in favor of fan favorites like Tawna, Pasadena, or Brio, because that's something I would expect out of Activision. So as somebody who has preferred characters that they'd like to unlock first and in a reasonable time span because I work 2 jobs, I find this system quite intrusive. It took me 3 days of off and on playing to have the RNG finally give me the option to unlock Spyro. Then I had to play until 1 AM at one point to get enough coins to unlock Tawna. Also, for the record, I'm not sure what I ever imagined Tawna sounding like, but middle-aged soccer mom is not what I had in mind.
See you at the finish line.
I had a free Sunday evening to myself at one point and decided to take advantage of the weekend bonus, so I played through the second half of Adventure Mode, getting every Golden Wumpa, getting every bonus objective I could, doing everything right, and still only getting enough coins to unlock 4 characters. No skins, no bonuses, just the characters. And then the option to buy Nasty Nork came up, so I had to play some more of the game before turning it off because much like Tawna, I wasn't sure when the option to buy Nasty Nork was going to come up again. I could have very easily just bought the $2.49 microtransaction, the lowest amount you can pay just for the sake of unlocking this one character, but that's exactly what the system is rigged to do, and that's a slippery slope that I refuse to buy into. Because one will inevitably lead to the next, and considering it costs 257,000 coins to buy each item individually if IGN is to be believed, less if you're buying them as bundles, that's an incredibly steep slope to slip off of. Steep slope to slip, say that 5 times fast. The most you can spend is $29.99 USD for 30,000 coins. So to buy the entire shop outright, you would need to pay somewhere in the range of $240 to $270 depending on the discounts on bundles. Even just the characters themselves cost 54,000 Wumpa coins, or nearly $60 worth of Wumpa coins in real cash. Or if you want to unlock everything legitimately, well, let's do some math. Let's just say, for sake of example, you earn an average of 60 Wumpa coins per race, and each race averages out at about 4 minutes. To unlock everything, you need to play the game for 285.5 hours, or 11.9 days, not including time on loading screens or menus. Holy crap. I really do appreciate how much content they put into the game. Beanox clearly has a lot of passion for the series, and it's a great game otherwise, but this is ridiculous. Yeah, the game was sold for $40 at launch, but I have a feeling that they only did so because they could lure in more people that way and catch a few more whales, which probably would have ended up being more profitable than just selling the game for $60. As a result, the rest of us have to suffer. Some of these characters were apparently unlockable by completing certain tasks during the Grand Prix events where they were introduced, but that's not particularly relevant to me. Chronically late to the party, remember? Now, there is also the issue of online and how Wumpa coins are given out there. I originally wasn't going to cover the online portion. I'm not really a fan of the online gaming experience, and I'm also really cheap, so I wouldn't be caught dead paying extra for the sake of this game. But then a friend of mine gifted me 3 months of PS Plus, so I didn't really have an excuse at that point. I had very little knowledge of the online systems and how they balance the Wumpa coins there, other than the fact that they generally give you more for playing online. And I found out exactly what giving you more entails. It equates to 5 times your regular Wumpa coins earned. I was told that you only get a limited amount of time per day with the 5 times multiplier, but it never seemed to run out for me after 3 hours of play, so maybe they mercifully did away with whatever alleged limitation they had, or maybe the internet is lying to me, but the internet would never lie. This multiplier stacks on top of the other multipliers as well, and so on Saturday and Sunday you can get 10 times Wumpa coins, which for me equated to about 5,000 coins an hour, at least when the servers weren't shitting the bed. For the record, these are some of the worst servers I've ever had the displeasure of dealing with. Took me 20 minutes just to connect to a game. So yeah, 5,000 coins per hour. Sounds pretty good, right? Except no, because even if 5,000 coins per hour were the standard, if my math is correct, it would still take 51.5 hours to buy everything. Probably closer to 45 to 48 if you're buying them all in bundles, but this is only for one specific mode of play. It's also dependent on things like matchmaking, the ability to join and finish a race without the servers needing to lock themselves in the bathroom and cry, and for the servers still being active at all, which these days is becoming rarer. So even under ideal circumstances, there are a lot of factors working against online that you just can't control. So basically, as good as this game is, the microtransactions and everything that's geared towards them really take a chunk out of what could have easily been a greatest of all time for its genre. If you don't mind it, fair enough, I can't force you to be uppity about anything, but for me, even if all of this was fixed, even if you could buy anything you want at any point, even if the Wumpa coins were completely rebalanced, even if the microtransactions were just a thing that you could do, it would still be too intrusive for me. Now, the following conversation is all hypothetical because, as we know, Activision was acquired by Microsoft, and it remains to be seen if this acquisition will change anything or if the bullshit practices that Activision partook in and in some cases spearheaded are a thing of the past. Either way, let's just say that Activision didn't get bought out by Microsoft. Let's just say that they continue to make more Crash games in the future. Well, the fact that they got away with instituting anti-consumer practices in Crash at all, had some people go out of their way to defend it, and had some people actively buying into it, wasn't all but confirmation that because they got away with it this time, it would only get worse in the future. Because we've seen this time and again. We as a gaming collective give publishers an inch and they take a mile. The reason the gaming industry is the way it is right now, with so much aggressive monetization, so much live service BS, so hostile that certain governments have had to step in to legislate it, and so on and so on and so on, is because despite all of it obviously being for nobody's benefit but the publishers, they still turn a profit, and some people defend these practices if it means defending their favorite franchises. Crash 4 managed to escape this live service malarkey, but who's to say the next Crash game wouldn't have been riddled with ultra-aggressive monetization, and all because we let them get away with this? That's why, for me, it doesn't matter how unintrusive something like this is, you need to reject it and push back, or it will only be worse next time. That's always how it goes without fail. Now that Crash is owned by Microsoft after the Activision acquisition, nobody really knows how it or any of the other franchises that Microsoft has recently acquired are going to look under them. On one hand, I can't trust any big corporate conglomerate, especially not one as big as Microsoft. I mean, did you know that Microsoft lobbied to defund the IRS so that they could get away with tax fraud? That's the level of corporate conglomerate we're talking about. But on the other hand, they're the one video game company doing mostly everything right now. They're the only gaming hardware manufacturer that's making backwards compatibility a priority. They're the ones spearheading an end to console exclusivity, and they're the ones spearheading things like Game Pass, which is like the Netflix of gaming. So perhaps we could see a new golden age for things like Crash under Microsoft, or perhaps this could be the end of the series' comeback tour. Because lest we forget, Microsoft has never really been the mascot platformer type. What was that one attempt at a mascot platformer that absolutely bombed in the early 2000s? I want to say Blink? Close, it was Blinks. But I'd like to think they also know what people want, and know what people will buy, so who knows. The future is a haze, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I ain't got much more to say than that. Discuss what I have to say in the comments if you wish, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm the King of Snark Style, and you're watching Tactical Bacon Productions. Peace.